Hey, how's it going? This is Seth. Keep it real. Hey, hope your day's going well. I have a really different kind of video today. Never talked about this before, but this is something I've been looking forward to talking about. And here's the question. When you buy your products from a supplier, are you having it shipped by air or by sea? And are you having it shipped door to door to your actual doorstep, or shipped to to an airport, or are you having it shipped to a port, a seaport? These three things are very, very interesting ways of having your products shipped. And I want to just do a brief rundown of what it means, because ever since day one, Chinese suppliers have always been telling me, hey, you should ship by sea, it's cheaper. And a lot of them don't realize all the fees that come into that, and the headache and the time spent on making that happen. And I want to explain what that looks like as someone who's done it now. So at the beginning, I always had it shipped by air because I had small quantities. I did not have enough capital to afford to spend a fortune, on some product to get the shipping down $1 a piece. For me, that was crazy. I didn't have the money. So I needed to ship by air. I knew I was going to pay more for it, but I still made sure I had a profit on those products. However, here's what happened. As I began to get more money and make more money, and each month it's gone up and up and up and up, and now we're making really good money, I'm actually able to afford to buy a larger piece or a larger chunk of quantities, a larger chunk of inventory. So when my wife and I were coming out with this new brand line of clothing, we decided, you know what, for our first set of sandals, we're going to actually have these shipped by sea. And I was kind of excited. Then I quickly realized as I talked to the supplier that they really didn't have all the answers to my questions. So I said, well, hey, what's the price going to be if you have it shipped by air? And it was around $800. And I said, well, what is the cost for, freight on board? They said around $400. I thought, oh, that's easy. $400, not a problem. Of course it makes sense. If I'm gonna get the shipping costs cut in half, I'm definitely going by sea. Well, I didn't realize all the other costs associated with that. So the more I talked to him, the more I realized he was telling me you need to find a customs agent who actually knows what they're doing, because I obviously didn't know what I was doing. So I found a customs agent, actually one that he recommended, and it took me a while because before he recommended one, I spent so much time on the phone calling agent after agent after agent after agent to try to find someone, and no one would answer my questions. And I've learned that a lot of these people, they really don't like answering questions because this whole industry is extremely complicated and there's tons of details involved. So finally, I went with the agent that my supplier recommended. I called him up, and his name was Young, and this guy was incredible. He explained everything. From every question I had, he explained. And I was so thankful that finally someone could explain it to me. And because he took the time to help me, I trusted him. And because I trusted him, I paid him money to help me make this happen. I'm so thankful I met Young and his company. I'm so glad I met Young and his company. Now, I want to show you exactly what it looks like, all the fees, having all of this having been done now. I want to show you exactly what the fees were to make this happen. So here we go. First of all, there is an importer security filing fee. What this means is the U.S. Customs Border Protection requires all importers, that would be me, and vessel carriers to give data electronically for inbound ocean shipments. In other words, it's information about what's on the boat, okay? And typically, these shipments are gonna come in these large containers. Have you ever seen, I don't know if you've ever watched Daredevil or some of those superhero movies or shows where they're on top of these containers and they're fighting and everything, these big rectangular boxes. That's what goes on those ships. And those ships are huge if you look up pictures of them, and they have tons of them. And ours was a little part of this big container, okay? So they need to know what's in that box, what is in that container, to make sure it's not drugs, not some kind of liquid that's illegal, not some kind of bomb, not anything crazy. We had to file, or they had to file that for us, and I paid this company, which I'm going to tell you about, to do it for me, because there was no way I was going to do this on my own. My first time, I don't have the experience, and I don't have the time. And I value my time too much for that. So they took care of it for me. It cost me $198. Not too bad. And part of that is you also have to get a customs bond. And let me explain this part. So not only do you get your ISF filing, but you have to have an entry filing, and you must purchase a customs bond. What that is, it's like insurance. So for some reason you don't pay the customs, the U.S. Customs does not get their money, then the insurance company comes in and covers it for you. So you have to pay for that. So the entry filing to actually have it entered into the U.S. cost me $277. Now, there's something interesting about this. If you have the product shipped to your door, you're probably going to have to go with a large shipper like FedEx or UPS or DHL. And you're actually going to pay a bit more for that shipment to be flown to your door, because these large shipping companies, they actually have a person who does all that entry filing for you. They actually fill out those forms and take care of it, so you don't have to worry about it. You don't need an ISF when it's shipped door to door, and you do not need one when it is shipped to an airport. Same thing, it's flown to an airport, you can go get it. You actually pay less, okay, than if it's shipped to your door, but you still have to have someone fill out the entry filing fee, and that part is required. And so again, you can do it yourself, try to figure it out. A lot of people, they'll get through it halfway and then they'll give up because it's too crazy. Other people, they figure it out. They're pretty smart. And others, they just pay for someone to do it because they're really smart, because they value their time and they want to have time to spend on other things more important. So you have to have an importer security filing. You have to have an entry filing if it's by boat. And third, there are freight fees. And these freight fees were not huge. It was $178. These are the fees for the freight, for the shipment itself. Then you have warehouse fees. Keep in mind, when this thing shows up at the port, in our case, it was in California, we're in Texas, but for it to go to the Houston port, they would have to go like 3/4 of the way around the world. That would have been insane. So when it shows up at the port, someone has to go and get the container and empty it and put the stuff in a warehouse. So our stuff was stored in a Los Angeles warehouse, okay? Then that had to be forwarded all the way to the city right outside of Houston. Someone has to pay for that. And then someone has to pay for those warehouse fees. So it really is not as simple as it seems. It would be a lot more simple if I literally lived on a seaport, and that might make life a little easier. But all this to say, there's a lot that goes on. Let me show you something else. The final fee for us was delivery to Doorstep. Now, what is this? This is $470 we had to pay FedEx in order to have it shipped from Houston to our house. If I was to take this entire total, which is not massive, but it ended up being $1,200. That ended up being a decent amount of money, which originally would have cost me $800. So we realized we're breaking even on this air shipping versus sea shipping thing. So what I'm trying to say is this: find a customs agent who will be honest with you and upfront and answer any question you have, and get an idea of what it's going to cost. Because we are at a break-even point. If we were to purchase double the goods, which we will next time if all of these sandals sell, then we'll definitely go by sea, and it'll definitely save us money. This time around, it actually did not, even though I thought it would. A lot of suppliers are not aware of all the fees on this side. They're just thinking, oh, freight on board, what does that mean? FOB, the cost to you to get it on board. They will put it on board. Now, you're responsible for everything else, and all they look at is the actual fee for having it shipped across the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic, depending where you live. But that fee is just one of the many fees, and it's one of the smaller ones. So I hope this is helpful for you. Let me show you who I use, so you guys can actually check this out. I really like these guys, and just to be totally honest, here was the, let me first give you the email. Here was the original email that was sent to me, one of the original emails. I mean, it was just a bit overwhelming. And and I know this seems like a headache, but the reason they sent this is they're making sure we have all the information out there. Now, you do not have to spend hours going through every single one of these links. That would be absolutely insane. But I'm just trying to give you an idea. They know what they're talking about. So getting this email, I think my brain just about fell out of my skull. I had to put it back in. I called them and said, please help me understand. I do not have time to get a doctorate in U.S. Customs. And they explained everything I needed to know and explained what I needed to know and what I didn't need to know at this point. They just guided me through everything and told me all the next steps. That's what I love about the company I'm about to introduce you to, and that is U.S. Import Bond. Now again, it's not a beautiful website, but it's not supposed to be. It's practical. And basically when you come here and you click on here, your ISF 10+2, right here you can start filling out for that ISF security filing, which is right here. I mean, all the information you need is going to be on here. Then you have your entry, which is the next step. Then you have your bond, which is the insurance to make sure if you don't pay, I mean, U.S. Customs requires it, you're covered. And then you have your ABI, and you have your audit, and then you have your links, and this is a ton of data. So again, it's going to be overwhelming if you begin to ship by sea. It's overwhelming at first. They're not paying me to do this, just so you know that. This is completely my idea. USImportBond.com is going to help you, and they do a badass job at it. The website, I'll be honest, it's not the easiest website, but it's not supposed to be. It's data. so you have all the accurate information, and it's very logical and very linear. So do yourself a favor. If you're going to ship by sea, give them a call and tell them that Seth recommended you. All right, hope you have an awesome day. This is Seth. Seth Keeping It Real. I hope that was very helpful to you. And the more I learn about this, the more I'll be happy to share with you, my friends, who are fighting online to take a dime and turn it into 100,000 and create passive income. And oh man, I'll stop now. See ya. Bye.